to week 3 of our at-home pottery lessons. This week we're going to do a wee lidded box, so just to show you the kind of finished article, this is what we're going to do here. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that to one side just now. If any of you've got tile cutters or cookie cutters at home, then by all means that's what I've used to cut out my box shapes, but you don't need to have anything like that at home. So I've just started by rolling out the clay. If you don't have any cutters, you could draw around something like a tile shape or just simply measure the size you want it to be. So again, I always use paper templates for things to get the workings right before I start making. So you're wanting to cut out 3 of the same shape here. So I've gone for 3 squares, and then I've rolled out lots of extra bits that are going to be the sides of the box. So I've already rolled those out and done my cuttings. I've actually just gone the thickness of a ruler. For these, again, you could go a bit thicker if you wanted a deeper box. So basically I'm going to cut these, so we'll have 4 of those just all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to actually pop 2 of these just to the side for 1 second, just till I show you how I'm going to do this section of the box. So we need to create a little lip so that we can get a nice close on that box, something for it to hold on to. So again, paper template, just for my workings, but I just went round and measured 2 centimetres. From each edge, a little mark. Okay, and then before I go in and actually cut the clay, I'm just doing a score mark in it first of all. Okay, so I've made my score marks, and now I'm just going to cut out that square in the centre there. So just again, make sure you're working on a board or something that's not going to score the table or surface you're working on. And I'm just going to push that out. Wee tub of water and your sponge, and you just want to get all that nice and smooth. Wipe away any lines, any markings that you've scored in, and make sure you don't have any sharp edges. Same with these, I've smoothed over all of the edges of this, and although that my edges were quite sharp and square when I started, I actually like to just work until I've rounded the edges a little bit. That'll also help as well that the pointed edges can break or chip a wee bit easier, so if you just make sure that they're all nice and smooth and rounded. Okay, so this is more precise than anything we've been making or hand building in the last couple of weeks. So you will need to get your measurements correct and a nice good finish to it, so ensuring everything is really sponged down and really nice and neat. So I'm just going to pop that to one side. Okay. Now any any decoration that you're doing on the lid, you would do at this stage, okay? These are just leather hard, but obviously I want to still be able to press into it. Again, you can use anything you've got lying about, some stamps or some wooden blocks or anything, wallpaper or anything. These ones just actually made some little moulds just by pressing shells into clay and then fired it and then used that as a mould. But obviously you can, you know, hand build any of these things and spend a wee bit of time modelling or whatever you want to do. And I've also just pressed in a little stamp here to give a sort of wave pattern in the background. So you can just think about what you want to do. With this one, what they're quite nice to do as well is little keepsake boxes or a present for someone. So I'm going to do this one for a new baby, so you can use some stamps or, you know, use your tools to etch into a name or anything like that. So I've got that ready to go and prepared. And now I'm going to start to construct the box. So this is going to be my base. So use my kidney. Metal serrated edge kidney, and I'm just going to go around the edges of this, going one way and then scoring the other way. Okay, all nicely scored. And then I'm just going to use a little paper template that I cut out for the edges just to see, and I'll cut these all down to size. So just lay my template on there. Any bits that I'm cutting off, by the way, I'm keeping. I'll show you what you can do. I've obviously cut a square out of this. I'm going to use that later on to put some feet onto the box, so I'll just stick that to one side. So now I've got my 4 equal sides. I should have said as well, actually, when I've rolled out your clay, cut it to shape, but it's really important to keep these nice and flat. So whilst you're wanting them to get leather hard and dry, just pop them sandwiched between 2 boards, and you can put a book or something on that to weight them, and then once they're leather hard and good to work with, you can obviously take that out. Just make sure there's no warpage in it and they're drying nice and flat. Okay, so I'm good to go with attaching these. So again, scoring them with my metal kidney, and then a good amount of slip. There will still be a wee bit of trimming involved in these, just where they meet at the corners. You'll need to just trim a little section back. Mine's, because I rolled them out ahead of time, have actually just gone a little bit stiff, but not to worry. So I'm just going to stick that against the edge, and I'm just going to use my kidney just to slice off that little bit I don't need. Just to show you as well, I'm just going to put some scoring just at the edge. I'm going to be joining it to as well. And this edge. Bit thicker with the slip just at this inside edge here, so it squidges together and I get a nice drawing. Okay, I'm just actually going to pop this onto a little board, make it easier to show you. One, just lining this up, and then I'm just going to make a little marking where I need to cut it. Okay, and this one will need to be scored along 3 edges. Scoring on the inside there. Just paint all the edges with slip. Just slot that one in. Okay, then you want to give the whole thing a good join together, so I'm just going to use the straight edge of one of my modelling tools, and I'm just going to go round the edges and make sure that the seams of this are really well joined and nice and smooth. A wee bit time consuming, but it really is worth getting a nice finish on this. I'm actually just using any wee leftover bits, just almost like kind of joint filler. I'm just going in and inside to those corners as well. I want to make sure this is all really well stuck together. Go over with your serrated edge on that as well, just to make sure the joins are really well butted together. Always go with the rough edge first, and then you can smooth it over. Again, with the edges on the outside of the box, I'm just kind of taking the sharpness off and making it more of a rounded edge as well. Again, just to reduce the risk of chipping. Okay, and then I'm just going to tidy the whole thing up just with my damp damp sponge. And tidying the inside of it as well. It's really important to tidy the inside of it before you put this little ledge on it, otherwise you're not going to be able to get your hands back in there, so just get a nice finish on that now. I really want to just make sure my seams are really well joined. Another thing you can do is just give it a little tap all the way around. So I'm just looking for my favourite tool, one of these butter pats. Use it for everything. I'm just going to bash the edges to make sure they're nice and stuck together. I'll go around and tidy all that up again later. So now I'm just going to attach this. So again, just make sure that it's all nice and scored. And then I'm going to score this. Another thing that's quite nice to do with the decoration of the lid, it's just depending obviously on the time of year, but it's nice to get some leaves or herbs and press them into the clay when they're still quite soft. So you would do that before you set it aside to let it go leather hard, and they just leave really nice impressions. So just going on with lots of slip. Okay, again you can just use your scraps of clay to mix up more slip for all the projects we're going to be doing. So I just always put some little bits of dry clay, all these trimmings here, I would just scrape them off at the end of my board and into my tub and just add some more water to it. So if you think your tub, so your slip's a wee bit too thick, just add some more water, and again if it's too runny you can just pour some of it out. I'm going to just add a little bit more water into mine. Go all the way around the rim here. Okay, and then I'm just going to stick that on. And again, I want to make sure that this is really attached onto that, so I'm just going to give it a little tap. And again, you would go back over and really, with your tools, make sure that that is nice, joined together and sealed. You can paint over it with some slip as well. probably the most time-consuming bit of making this little box is just getting the finish right and just making sure that it's really well joined. Mine's looking at a wee bit on the messy side just now because I'm rushing it. And again, really important to tidy everything up and smooth it all down. So I'm just going to crack on and show you how I attach the feet on just now, but really this is still a little bit messy and would require a bit more work to get it all smooth and sponged down. I'm just going to change my board over as well because it's getting a wee bit sticky there. So I'm just going to pop it over. I'm just going to give this a wee bit of a tidy up just because I've been working on some scraps of clay. I've got, just throw those in my slip bucket. Just try and keep the place as tidy as you can while you're working. So just smooth the bottom off. Get rid of any wee clay shavings picked up. And again, just making sure my edges are nice. Okay, so I've got that smoothed down. I'll just move it to one side just now and I'll just show you the wee square that I cut out earlier on. Again, just with a ruler, I'm just going to measure and cut this into 4 equal quarters. Just measured it and scored it, and then I'll just go in and cut it. Okay, again, I'm just doing this. It's a nice way not to waste any clay, but if you wanted to make it a feature of your box, you could use little cutters for icing or anything. You could cut out little love hearts or whatever kind of shape you wanted, as long as they're all the same size and thickness. Okay, so I'm just going to cross hatch and score the 4 corners. Same with my 4 squares. any wee scrapings you've got falling off onto your board as you're working, make sure you get those tidied up at the end before they become dry and dusty. It's sometimes a good idea as well just to use a spray bottle of water and spray down. Again, I think I said in the first week that clay dust is harmful. You don't want to inhale it, so just always make sure you tidy up and get everything sponged down and cleaned away. With wet clay, you don't want to allow that to get dry and create dust. Okay, so I'm just going on with some slip and stick these down. Okay, so again, you can just press that down by hand, or if you've got anything to hand that you can use just to bash it, just to put some pressure, make sure that's really stuck, and then give that a really good tidy up. My brush is a wee bit thick with slip just now. I'm just going to take a fresh brush, just a wee bit of water, just to tidy all these edges. Another important thing to remember is that you're going to be handing these in, everybody's going to be making the same things. Whilst the clay is still damp enough, you want to carve your initials or name into the bottom or that, somewhere where you won't see it, but just so we know it's your work to get it back to the right place. That goes for everything that you're making, just always. Some people have got personal stamps they like to use, but as long as you've got your name on it. Again, for the size of this centre and the amount of work coming through it, initials aren't ideal, as a lot of people will have the same initials, so just put your name or something you'll recognise on there. So as well as the joins down box, I'm just going over the little feet of this as well, just to make sure there's no rough edges. Okay, again, ideally I would spend longer in tidying that up, but I'm just going to show you the next stage now, so I'll just flip this back over. Okay, so as I say, we've got the tile or square just to sit on the top of that, but really we want to just create a nice something for it to hold on to, that's not going to slip about. So a couple of things you could do if you wanted. You could actually measure out that square exactly and put a little lip that just fits inside that as well. But what I'm going to do, as I said, I was going to make this one as a gift for a new baby, so I thought it'd be quite cute. I've just pressed out some bits of clay into like little buttons. I'm just going to use these. So I'll stick that aside again for 1 minute. So I'm going to just attach these little buttons on at the two corners here. So again, I'm just going to score. Before I stick those on, I just want to check that it all lines up. So I'm just going to set the buttons just on the top here. just going to use the end of one of my plastic tools just to draw around where that goes. Like that, and then I'm just going to cut these out. When I made this one, again, I just used some of the leftover bits that was cut out just to cut off 2 little square pegs to stick on here. So you can be as inventive as you like. And again, where I've cut out, get it really nice and sponged down nice and neat. You can just let your imagination for whatever you want to make these for. Another thing they're quite nice to do is for children for little tooth fairy boxes. So you can have some fun. You can put like a wee fairy or a tooth or something. Just decorate them how you want. You could do a wee bit of hand modelling to stick a wee design on there. So I'm just going to attach these little buttons now. Again, just giving it a wee press to make sure I've got a nice drawing. I'm just going to use another little bit of water just to tidy that up. We want to check the fit of this, but what you have to be careful of is that you don't stick this down when the clay is still wet and sticky and stick it to it. Well, I'm just actually going to smooth that over with my finger just now, just take some of that wetness off. Again, this still needs some working on to smooth it all, but I can go back and do that later. So I'm just going to check that that fits. So there we go. When you are drying these, again, I would take this off. If I've not added anything onto the top, then just put it between 2 boards, keep it nice and flat because it will warp and you'll get kind of curled up edges, which won't give you a great fit. You could add something else on, you know, a little, you can take mouldings or carve into the clay, just make your own wee things. That was just a wee stamp I used, just a wee teddy bear. So you could do things like that around the bottom as well. Again, when you've rolled out your clay and it's still wet, if I wanted some texture on my side bits, you could press that in, but just bear in mind that you've seen how much I had to wipe and smooth that to join it, so you would risk kind of losing some. I would maybe press into it once you've joined it all together. And there we have it, our wee trinket box.